Head back over to the European markets and MOEX and talk about some Russian names with our good friend Kyrill Firshein joining us from BCS America this morning in New York City. Good morning, Kyrill. How are you?
Good morning. Doing well. How's things going for you guys?
It's very cold in Toronto
Blizzard.
today.
Activision Blizzard.
Activision, yeah. How are things in New York?
New York is great. Also cold. I think everyone's following your lead now, so we're all getting ready for a Russian winter to come.
Yeah. Let's talk some MOEX. Let's talk some Russian names. Anything interesting popping up this morning that you're having a look at?
Yeah, in general, Russia's been following the global markets. You know, we've had pretty light volumes today, but markets are down 1.3%, the MOEX index. Probably a bit more than we thought. Everyone's waiting to see how the U.S. reacts to all the news going on, and the sort of previous risk-on attitude that we've had is now turning into obviously the worries and hoping to see what happens with China and the U.S. on the trade deal. From a stock perspective, you know, I've been marketing this week with our chief equity strategist, Slava Smolinov, and he has been very interesting meeting with some of the largest institutional investors in the U.S., GEMS funds, hedge funds, global long-only funds. And people are very, very interested in Russia right now in the equity markets. We've had a target of 1,500 for the RTS, mid-2020 target. We're already almost reaching that point. We're already in the high 1,400s here. So from his perspective, as he's been talking to these investors, he's saying, you know, in the near term, we're probably going to have, we can't really fight the fund flows right now. The markets are going to keep moving in the positive directions for Russia, which is one of the most positive emerging market stories year to date. But he does think we're going to probably have a little bit of a cooling off of that performance in the near term. So when you're looking at RSX, the Russia ETF that I know a lot of is very actively traded by traders here, you may want to think about taking some money off the table on it as things heat up.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the U.S.-China trade talks. It seems like, you know, a yo-yo is what I referred to it as, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth throughout the week. Now we're back to the downside again. Good stuff. Always good to check in with, you know, the more macro side of things. We'll send you over to the guys at the desk and talk some more individual names.
Great. Thank you.
How's it going, Kyrill?
Good. Doing well. How are you guys?
Pretty good, pretty good. There's one stock I know that you want to bring up here, and it's one that we've kind of traded in the past. Tends to be in play quite a bit, trading it over here in the U.S. at least. And that's going to be Yandex. What are your thoughts on then maybe looking at them today? I know they've been under pressure and had lots of activity in the last couple of months.
Yes, so this foreign ownership law has caused quite a lot of pressure on the stock. As I mentioned in the previous point, meeting with institutional investors here in the U.S., they're very interested in this company. This is a global name. People look at it who are tech, media, telecom investors, not just Russia investors. After it had the sell-off post this foreign ownership law debacle, as people really put it, people are wondering what to do, but I think the risks are actually to the upside in this name. I think the downside has been really capped at this point. We may still have some weakness in the near term, but in general, I think you're more positive. And it's in terms of the fundamentals, at least for the name, this is a name we really like in terms of domestic stories for Russia. It's one of the top domestic companies. Yes, you have some headline risk, but you've already had that sell-off. So I haven't looked at the latest technical of where the breakout would be, but I do think that risks are more to the upside in the name.
Thanks a lot, Kyrill. I mean, I'm not necessarily an expert on this stock, or even technically. It's interesting for me because it looks like it's getting into a price range where it's like a decision point here between 34 and 35, at least over here in the NASDAQ pricing. So that's why it's kind of key, because you already had that bounce, and now we're getting to a place where there was some chop a couple of months ago and kind of an old support level. So that's why it's interesting. This is why we bring you on. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Have you guys looked at Headhunter at all from the other stock that I think we had a recent trading call? It's ticker HHR, Headhunter space US. This is a name that we had a valuation short call on it. It had a nice move to the downwards now. We took the short call off, but it might be one to watch in the future also as well.
Hey, Kyrill, Sean here. What sector is Headhunter in?
Headhunter is basically a version of Monster.com, a recruiting, essentially headhunter company for Russia.
Right.
And it's also, it is actually used for beyond that as well. It's in other markets as well. And it does trade in the US. It was one of these small cap tech names that was sort of a darling of the market at one point, but it had a real run. And we closed that short call after it's now sold off, and I think it's something to watch and going forward on the long side as well.
Okay, that seems like a good name, and yeah, it looks like it's in a little bit of a range right now. Can you give us maybe one or two names here? It looks like oil kind of right now, not too much volatility in that space, in the crude oil space. But if we do get a breakout above 58, I think we could break that, break out maybe back to 62, 64. So which stocks on the MOEX or any ADRs should we be looking at for an oil spike possibly?
Yeah, the best names, we love oil names in Russia. We love the sector, and for many reasons, some of them are paying very high dividends. The names to focus on would be Lukoil, which is ticker LKOH. There's both a London-listed and a local MOEX-listed name. You have Rosneft, ticker ROSN, also trades in London as well as MOEX. Those would be the two top names in the oil sector to play. And right now, actually, because Lukoil's had such a good run, we've had some switching from Lukoil into Rosneft, but really both names would be great to watch on an oil breakout.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Kyrill, thank you for everything today.
Yeah, fantastic job. Good insights, guys. Lots of names to look at. We'll try to track a few of them.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Look
you. Have a
forward to the next
fantastic day
time.
and a great weekend.
You too.